when they say no man left behind, they're lying.
Mm-hmm.
He's got the video. He was saved by, I believe it was either Israeli forces. It was another country,
Yeah.
but him and another soldier were literally left.
Yeah.
They were left, and he's got videos of them like taking shots. He commands the guy. He's like, "Fuck you! I'm your commanding officer. You take this shot." But I was like, "What?" He was like, "Yeah, so I'm so fucked off. They left me.
Yeah.
They left me, and I was rescued by a foreign army."
That's fucked up.
And so there's also that, and yeah, but he he has had a lot of hard times, and now he does microdosing the mushrooms, and it's changing his life.
Yeah, I'm just a big believer like microdosing, LSD, mushrooms, marijuana. It's like
It's
I
helping
I,
him work through the things that
I
he's
just
needing
know
to
so
work
many
through.
people who like fucking swear by it, right? I know so many people like they like the VA gives out fucking drug. So like, the VA does the best they can, right? But I don't know, like I'm a believer in microdosing, right?
Yeah, no,
So many
neuroplasticity.
people.
Yeah, neuroplasticity. I mean, that's why they're looking at legalizing it here because I mean, they already use ketamine for therapy.
Hmm.
It's already being used for that, and ketamine is incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
K-holing is no joke. And I mean, that's what Elon Musk was doing all life.
But it's the thing, like back in the day, like oh LSD, you have a bad trip, you fucking be
There's no
fucked
such
up.
thing. You had a bad mental state.
Yeah, I've done a lot. I've never had a bad trip. No one I know who does ever had a bad trip, right?
No, no.
No one.
The most I had was um, we call it epic doses. Like you take a lot of mushrooms, like an eighth or more,
Yeah.
and
So have you heard the story? So as I heard somewhere, like this lady, she accidentally sniffed like all this fucking LSD, right? She does some cocaine, right? All this LSD, and like she just like nothing did nothing to her, right?
well, I mean, I don't know what the LD50 is on it. LD50 is the amount it takes to kill you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because lethal dose 50%. They
Yeah.
essentially they administer it to mice,
Yeah.
and when 50% of the mice die, that's how they determine what the lethal dose is. So it's called lethal dose 50, LD50.
Yeah.
And that's how our system works, folks.
No, with me, like like one thing, like I can like I'm scared. Like I can imagine like doing heroin. I'm like thinking needle
I actually
me.
had. I mean, that's always been a rule of mine. Never, ever, ever would I ever do that. But I've known functioning. Like I've known people that they hold their job, they got a family,
Yeah, I can imagine.
but
Right.
they chase that dragon.
I can imagine like I don't know.
And it blows my
That's too
mind
much.
that most people could not do that and hold down a life. There are some that can. I also know there's only one person I've ever known that he's actually the most artistic person I've ever met,
Yeah.
and he was a meth head.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was insane. His house was so his doorbell.
Heroin, meth. I can understand it.
His doorbell was a piano that he took the harp of it, the
Mm.
guts of the piano, mounted it to his wall in his house, actually attaching it to structural timber so it would
How
turn.
fucking high was he?
Here's the kicker though. It turned the whole house into the piano. And then he put actuators on it and programmed it to when you rang the doorbell, it played a song. His whole house he turned his whole house into a musical instrument. And it sounded amazing.
He's on meth.
Yeah, and then he was moving a bunch of stuff in his house, and so he put cardboard along the wall so he didn't
Mm.
scuff the paint and stuff. And then he realized, well, there's cardboard there, so I can just start painting on the cardboard. And I worked with him in a capacity like odd jobs, like side jobs. So I go over his house to go pick him up, and I go in there and like every wall that was covered in cardboard while he was moving is now a forest. He painted an entire forest. He's got a piano on the wall.
How long did it take him to do all this?
Oh, he was all. I mean, I would think that was progression was over a couple months. It wasn't. It didn't
That's
take
it.
long. Yeah, because he'd just stay up painting. He would make copper wire animals of like coiled wire. He had a little Weinerheimer, a wiener dog. That's a life-size wiener dog, made out of coiled copper. He made all these little things, and then in his backyard when I first met him, was just full of stuff. It was organized, but
On meth.
like stuff. And then I'm like, "What are you collecting this for?" He was like, "Oh, I've got a vision for my backyard." And then one afternoon, we go to pick him up for work because he didn't have a car. We go to pick him. I was working concrete at the time, and we go to pick him up, and his backyard's empty of all the stuff, and it's all over the fence now. And he's taken broken ceramics, and he's made all tile art. Like, he literally used everything that he was extra stockpiled and turned it into just random cool thing, like a fire pit and all this stuff. And I was like, dude, for what you are, I'm finding a hard reason to be complaining. Like, you go to work, you don't steal anything, you don't hurt anybody. He made his own stuff because he didn't trust other people. He didn't smoke it though, he ate it. He ate it. And, but he was the most creative person I have ever met. Most creative person. He used his meth addiction of taking things apart and scrounging and stuff like that, but then he actually used it in a positive way at the end and started making art with it. He was like, they threw that piano away, so I just saved the piano. He was like, and then I learned how to tune the piano. And then I turned it into a doorbell. And to this day, I've never seen that. It's the most impressive shit as far, because he also figured out, it's a heavy-ass piano. He figured out how to support it so it didn't mess up his wall.
That's so fucking confusing.
Yeah. Because a piano is just a big metal harp surrounded by the wood is the resonator. And he realized this. And so he was like, well, the wood that I'm mounting it to, the studs that I'm mounting it to, are going to transfer the vibrations to the rest of the house, and the house is just.
So you think he was just smart, or just the method did this?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of both. I think he did the drugs because he just grew up in a place where that happened, and then, addiction cycle or whatever.
When I think of meth, I'm like fucking taking meth, like you have no teeth, no fucking body.
Yeah, so did I. Absolutely. And he talked about that. He was like, I don't smoke it. He was like, those guys, yeah, like the teeth and everything. He was like, I eat it. And then he was like, you want to know what the best meth you can get is? Ritalin, Vyvanse.
Yeah.
And when I was in college, Vyvanse, all the kids that don't do any drugs, all the straight and narrow kids, well, they were always going up to the ADHD kids that had Vyvanse scripts come turn. Because when you take a Vyvanse, there is no bad side effect like there is meth.
Mm-hmm.
You can take a Vyvanse, read a textbook overnight, and you will remember it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's a study drug.
Yeah.
And it's heavily abused in the academic world. Mm-hmm. Heavily abused because it is a performance-enhancing drug. It's like a steroid for your brain. You can, that's why they give it to ADHD people. Like, you can hyper focus and you will retain the information that you were focusing on. So when I realized that, I was like, you're right. Like, you look it up. I look it up. I was like, wow, Ritalin is an amphetamine. It's just a better version than the tainted chemically whatever one.
Yeah.
So yeah. If we're really thinking about it, all the kids on Vyvanse and Ritalin, we're giving them meth.
Do you think kids with ACD, all the disease, whatever we're going to call it, would be better off if they just no drugs at all? Just like, okay.
Yeah, I have it. And it's about self-regulation. I never needed those things. We grew up poor enough that we weren't going to get that, but then at the same time, I don't think my mom or dad would ever wanted that. They're like, he's a little boy, he wants to do little boy things. Mm-hmm. Like, if you want to keep his attention, give him something to learn. And I got lucky enough that I guess I had teachers that cared. Because so I have a twin brother. And if I hadn't had a twin, I would have skipped several grades. Mm-hmm. So the first time they wanted to skip me in school was 6th grade. because I was in fifth. I was part of this thing called Destination Imagination in elementary, which is where they kind of identify pretty smart kids to do. They challenge them with new things, and so they put me in the DI program, and all of a sudden, like, I'm not as ADHD anymore because I got my schoolwork, but I got also this actual challenging thing. And then I remember I took a test, and I still remember it to this day because it's the first time I ever saw long division when I was in third grade. And like, what? Like, third graders don't know long division, right? And they were like, it's okay if you don't know these things, but I'm taking this test, and they wanted to skip me then. But then the counselor said, because I have a twin and we went to the same school, it was going to cause problems, mostly for my twin. He wouldn't handle that very well. And then
We were like, fuck my twin.
no, well, they just didn't tell me. So I found this out later on. My dad and my mom were like, oh no, they wanted to skip you when you were in third grade. That's why you took that test. I was like, I remember that test. They're like, yeah, you remember most things that happened to you. And that's also why I was like, I don't think I'm smart. I just have the ability to remember. But sixth grade or the end of fifth grade, I remember I got perfect test scores for Texas stuff. Just perfect test scores. But I started getting pink slips. Started getting in trouble. Me and my friend Joel and our bias, we would finish our work so quick, and then we're getting hundreds. But now we've got all this idle time, and we're like throwing paper airplanes and disrupting the rest of the class because we're so far ahead. So they're like, hey, let's put them up a grade because it'll be challenging enough for them that it wouldn't happen. That also, my parents were like, no, let's not do that. It wasn't until I got to junior high, because we went to different schools for different interests, that I was finally like, oh, let me get ahead. So I did graduate early. I was also on top, like, I was top 10% in Texas, like, academically. Like, I got a special award for it. So, yeah, I mean, I've always been clever, I guess, when that comes. But I think my ADHD and stuff like that, unregulated, helped more than it hurt.
So you say ADHD, what do you call it? Is like a blessing or curse for people?
Um, I think that is whether you were raised to be a victim or not, or if you're going to blame other people for everything else.